Hi there, folks. This is Sam Price, and welcome to another episode of Probate Notes. I have with us Matias Baker Masucci. He is a real estate broker, and you can find him at everyla.com. You can also find him at probaterealtorlosangeles.com. Matias, thank you so much for being on the podcast with me today.
Sam, it's a pleasure to be here.
You know, you have your own podcast. Can we just take a second to mention your podcast as well? I want to get you credit for that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The Probate Realtor Show. It's something that we started a couple of years ago. Now we're in the, I think, 80th episode or something like that. And it's been, very helpful. It came out of a desire. So I'll tell you, the driving force was getting a lot of calls from people who would find me online and think I'm an attorney. And they would say, hey, can you help me with this probate matter? Or blah, I'm fighting with my brother and all of this and all sorts of probate questions that one can imagine, estate planning and all of that. So finally I was like, you know what, instead of me, because I tell them I'm not an attorney, I can help you. I figured instead of trying to get people to answer the questions on their behalf or whatever, I was like, let me just try and put up as much information as I can. And that's basically how the Probate Realtor Show was born.
That's fantastic. And so you must be able to help a lot of people through that podcast.
Yeah, we are very blessed. People do reach out and they say, oh, thank you. I needed this information. And actually, if I may plug, Sam did a wonderful job. You were on my show too. So if you're
that was fun.
Want to go check it out, it's definitely a worthy episode.
Thanks for that. Yeah. And in a small way, you did inspire me to say, oh, well, this seems like a worthwhile thing. I think that podcasting is really great. So I appreciate you and credit you for that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure.
And are you specialize or you focus on properties in probate? Is that right?
Yeah. So a big spoke of my business, it's not the only thing, obviously, but a big part of my business is being trust and probate real estate sales. That's been a niche very near and dear to me.
That's excellent. And why did you focus in that area?
It happened by chance. Again, another thing that happened by chance. I was basically what happened is that there was, when I transitioned, now I'm in Beverly Hills, but I used to be in the Los Feliz office of Berkshire Hathaway. And Berkshire Hathaway closed that office. So I moved to Beverly Hills. It was either that or Pasadena. And, my wife was like, now, we have 2 kids at the time, not 4 like now, we should go west. And we did. And so we did. We moved west. And when I came to this office, as I was doing my work, a lady that had been in real estate for many years came up to me and was like, hey, have you ever thought about, working in this niche, et cetera, et cetera? And I was like, no, I didn't even know it existed, to tell you the truth. And after, I learned about it, she had been doing it for, 40 years or something. I had the opportunity to work with her on some of these transactions and really became passionate about it and realized, first of all, how much misinformation. This is way before the car certification of trust and probate, the pull horn, all the things that now it's a thing. Now it's a business. Now people know about it. When I found out about it, nobody knew about it. So when I started having a presence in that world, I would constantly get calls from other agents asking me for advice, like, hey, I have to go to court. You know what I should do? This and that, which I thought it was kind of funny that, I had, entered a niche, which was completely new to me. And then suddenly I found myself, teaching other people about the niche.
Yeah. And it looks like another area that found you.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
yeah.
It's funny. Was it John Lennon that said, life is what happens while you're making other plans? I had a perfect plan in my life to do nothing that had nothing to do with real estate, nothing to do with trust and probate. And then, it's funny. And not having 4 kids, that was in one of my plans and, things like that. And then, things turned out pretty good, I guess.
What is the benefit of having full authority?
Well, I mean, in the case of full authority, really, I don't want to say you could do whatever you want. but you could do whatever you want within your fiduciary. You still have a fiduciary duty as the administrator of the estate, right? Or the executor, of a will. But you don't need court approval for the sale. You don't need, so there's a lot of things. Now, this is very important. Be careful, because as an agent, if you're doing a probate, if there is full authority, you still are subject to a notice of proposed action, which is 15 days. So you have to count that. If you don't know that, I'm going to give you an example. If you do not know that and you accept an offer, and then you say, oh, by the way, sorry, we actually need to file a NOPA, notice of proposed action, that now becomes a contingency. So the person can back out unless you told them before in advance. This is a probate subject to statutory notices, which are notice of proposed action. If you have a trust, you still have a notice of proposed action, which is 45 days. Something people do not know. Now, I know that, there's variances in how the trusts can be written and all of that, but something that people do not know and sometimes don't, is the fact that people can waive the notice. So if everybody's on the same page, all the people that have a right to object, etc., agree, then you can ask for consent instead of waiting for 15 days or waiting for 45 days. You can ask if all the kids agree, then you can close escrow sooner than that. So that's something, it's very important to know that stuff, because if you don't, first of all, you're in escrow, and then the escrow is scheduled to close in 30 days. That's a standard escrow in California, right? Now, 10 days into the escrow, you say, oh yeah, we got to file, it's a trust, we got to file 45 days. Now, all of a sudden, the buyer's got to wait another, 3 weeks. And now maybe they have the loan, maybe they locked in the rate. Think about it. People lock in a rate, then the rate changes, goes up and down. Now they say, well, my payment has gone up. Who's going to pay for that? So, you got to be on your toes when you do these type of sales.
Can you tell us a little bit about maybe your process or what you're looking for when you're walking through a property for those disclosures that you might be making?
It's a great question. Very good. We call it the AVID, the Agent Visual Inspection Disclosure. That's also something you want to do prior to go on the market. Usually in a regular sale, we wait until the end to do it. Not necessarily the end, but you wait until you open escrow, then you do the AVID. Because realtors are lazy for the most part. But you could do it. What you could do is, when you do a trust and probate sale, you should do it first. You just walk through the property. So what do we look for? We don't go there to probe and open up walls and do that, but we look for what we can see visually. So if there is discoloration on the tiles, we can point out discoloration in the bathroom. If the rafters outside look like the paint is peeling off, so paint is peeling off from, if there are holes, things. It doesn't have to be meticulous that you do everything, but it should be a reasonable person. There's that term, reasonable person, that the courts used to love. A reasonable person's way of walking through a property and what they observe, which essentially would be examples like, let's say the carpet is removed or a section, or, all those things. You notice you look up and there is a smoke detector that's missing. You can see the hole, but there's no smoke detector. You would point something like that out. A window is broken. You will point something like that out. Screens are missing. You point something like that out. Even the grass is, the landscaping hasn't been cared for. You point something like that out, especially in, in places like Los Angeles, where we have brush clearances in the hills and, like there's strict fire requirement, something like that. It's something that, you want to let a buyer know whether the seller's going to take care of it or the buyer's going to take care of it. This should probably be agreed upon, relatively early in the transaction. So that's something to keep in mind. So the AVID is an important disclosure that the agent has to make, that also protects the agent, not just the seller, not just the buyer, but the agent too, because, if something went to question, it's like, you didn't see the fact that the ceiling is missing in one of the rooms? Like, that's like, if you see it, let them know.